The junior schoolmate who has an obvious crush on my husband has moved in across the street from our house. My husband treats her like she's nothing. The small cake she carefully wrapped was thrown into the trash by my husband right in front of her. When she knocked on the door in a coquettish voice to borrow an umbrella, my husband coldly replied, "Don't have one," without even opening the door a crack. Her high-heeled shoe heel got accidentally stuck in the sewer grate. My husband sneered, his eyes mocking. "You got it stuck so precisely. Did you measure the size in advance?" But later, when I was tidying up my husband's desk, I found the shoe heel that had been broken off by my husband's junior schoolmate in the drawer. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. Jason's junior schoolmate, Jean, moved in across the street from our house with great fanfare. On the day of the move, many boys came to help her, acting subservient to her, but she ignored them all. She only smiled brightly when she saw Jason. I knew that it was because she liked Jason. To be precise, she has an obvious crush on Jason. I had met her a few times before, when I went to the college laboratory to bring Jason his meal. Her plump chest almost pressed against Jason, and she was full of provocation towards me. But I didn't need to do anything. Jason was already completely resistant. He would always look at her with disgust. "You're here to do experiments, not to do partner yoga." This made Jean stomp her feet in anger. But soon she would adjust her mood and sit at the same table with us, holding her lunchbox as if nothing had happened. She even had no sense of boundaries and picked up the spare ribs that I had specially stewed for Jason. Wow, sweet and sour spare ribs. They're my favorite. I'll take one. You don't mind, do you? Jason directly threw the lunchbox into the trash. Disgusting. I'm not eating anymore. However, all the embarrassment and rejections not only failed to defeat her but made her even more infatuated with my husband. The moment she moved in across the street, Jason went to her right away and confronted her. She smiled brightly when she saw Jason. "Brother Jason, we'll be neighbors from now on. Please take good care of me." Jason directly laid it on the line. "Why you're here is something everyone knows. I hope you can respect yourself. I'm already married and have no interest in you." Since most of the boys who helped Jean move were male classmates from the school, Jason's rejection of Jean was recorded by them and posted on the campus forum. As soon as the video was out, some were attracted by Jason's steadfastness, and naturally, there were also those who called him an overly confident man. After all, Jean is in her prime and is very charming, and I'm already in my 30s, and I'm getting old and losing my looks. The other teachers in the college all praised me for being lucky to have met a man who is unswervingly loyal. I know that this is mainly because Jason has an emotional cleanliness complex. He believes that love requires love at first sight and then staying faithful to one person. He completely cannot accept the idea of falling in love with someone else, whether it's in his body or his soul. Jason and I are teachers who were admitted to the business university in the same batch. He is in the School of Pharmacy, and I am in the School of Management. We met on the day of the interview and fell in love with each other at first sight. We dated for 3 years, and we've been married for 7 years. Our relationship is stable, and our social circles are clean. Because of his emotional cleanliness complex, he would even stand 2 meters away from other female teachers when taking graduation photos. Colleagues always like to joke that Jason is suitable to teach a course on husband's virtues. So, Jean moving in across from us didn't make me feel any threat. The small cake she carefully wrapped would be thrown into the trash by Jason right in front of her. When she knocked on the door in a coquettish voice to borrow an umbrella, Jason would coldly reply, "Don't have one," without even opening the door a crack. But it was not until Jean accidentally sprained her ankle on campus that I felt uneasy. That day, Jason and I got off work together as usual. Jean also, as usual, deliberately walked in front of us. She was wearing her body-hugging skirt, swaying from side to side, and her champagne-colored high heels made a dang dang sound as she walked on the road. Suddenly, with a cry of, "Ah!" Jean stumbled and almost fell. Jason's hand holding mine suddenly tightened. Jean turned around and asked for help. With her eyes slightly red, "Brother Jason, my shoe heel is stuck. Could you help me?" Jason sneered, his eyes mocking. "You got it stuck so precisely. Did you measure the size in advance?" It was 5 p.m. on campus. A lively time. This scene was seen by many teachers and students, and Jean's face turned bright red with embarrassment. Jean became the topic of conversation during people's leisure time. Originally, I was still feeling uneasy about Jason's suddenly tightened hand. But after this incident, Jean seemed to be heartbroken and stopped paying attention to Jason. Jason was also excited to share with me. Great. I've finally gotten rid of that clingy person. She's kept a long distance from me these days and hasn't talked to me either. But recently, Jason has been feeling gloomy when he comes home from work. Are you in a bad mood? There's something wrong with the experimental data. I've repeated the experiment many times and feel a bit tired. I massaged Jason's temples, but he took my hand away. I'm a bit tired and want to go to bed early. Suddenly, a few lines of words flashed before my eyes. My goodness. I feel sorry for the female lead. Her husband is thinking of another woman, yet she's still foolishly thinking of massaging him. But who would have thought? If I hadn't seen that he couldn't sleep all day because Jean ignored him, I would have been deceived by his image of having an emotional cleanliness complex. This man is also ridiculous. You ignored him when he was chasing you, and now that she's found someone else, you're feeling uncomfortable. I was a bit confused. What were these things that were like bullet comments? What did they mean? Could they see my life? Could it be that Jason has already had an emotional affair? I thought about it over and over again and tossed and turned. I don't know when I fell asleep. When I woke up in the morning and looked at the blank space in front of me, for a moment, I wasn't sure whether those words I saw last night were a dream or real. Recently, Jason's mood has improved again. In the evening, he, who never liked exercising, took the initiative to go running. When he came back, he was whistling and humming a tune, enjoying himself. Are you in a better mood? Yeah, the problem with the experimental data has been solved. If you hadn't told me, I would have thought it was because you came back with Jean. When I went to the door to take out the trash just now, I happened to see them coming out of the elevator together. Why are you making such a joke? You know that I always keep a respectful distance from other women, especially someone like her who throws herself at others. I wiped the island counter and didn't respond to him. Jason continued to explain. We met downstairs. I didn't even look at her directly and didn't greet her either. But for some reason, I always felt that something was wrong. Things like bullet comments floated in front of my eyes again. Come on, female lead. Don't believe him. Their hands touched when they were pressing the elevator button just now. Otherwise, why would he come back humming a tune? He's in love. Jean smiled shyly at him, and he reacted. Are people with an emotional cleanliness complex also reserved but flirtatious? What did this mean? Could they see our life? Was it like the Truman Show? Had Jason changed his heart as the bullet comments said? I found it hard to believe, because Jason's parents got divorced because one of them had an affair. And this was the most painful thing he didn't want to mention. This was also the reason why he always insisted on either not getting married or staying married for a lifetime. The days went on as usual in an orderly manner, but it was strange. It seemed that everything was the same as before, yet it also seemed very different. For example, Jason started insisting on running every day. He, who never entered the kitchen, began to study desserts and even took them to the laboratory, saying that desserts were helpful for thinking. He, who never paid attention to dressing himself up, started complaining that he had few clothes and took the initiative to ask me to buy clothes for him. He even specified what kind of cardigan and what kind of t-shirt he wanted. He said that the junior schoolmates in the laboratory were all wearing them recently and they were very popular. I didn't know what kind of clothes his junior schoolmates were wearing, but I clearly remembered that the boy beside Jean was wearing the kind of clothes that Jason mentioned that day. Jean is considered a beauty in the laboratory. Even if I don't deliberately inquire about her gossip, I will still hear about it. I heard that Jean has given up on Jason and is recently dating a boy who has been pursuing her for a long time. That day, when I came out of the school cafeteria, I happened to see them entering the cafeteria. They were chatting and laughing, and Jean even handed the ice cream in her hand to the boy to lick. Could it be that Jason was jealous? My doubts were fully confirmed when I was tidying up the study table in the evening. In the first drawer on the right side of the desk, I unexpectedly saw a champagne-colored shoe heel. Wasn't this the shoe heel that Jean had dropped when it got stuck in the sewer grate that day? The female lead has finally found out. On the night when the shoe heel broke, the scumbag secretly picked it up. Since Jean turned to someone else, the scumbag has been holding the shoe heel every night, saying he regrets it. Female lead. Stay away from the scumbag quickly. Recently, he's been running every day just to run into Jean in the community. He also takes the desserts he makes to Jean. He dresses in the style that Jean likes every day and even secretly sprays perfume to attract women. He deliberately gets close to Jean when doing experiments. Jean has already felt his change. If this goes on, the two of them will soon be intimate. Only then did I know. It turned out that his uncontrolled tightening of the hand that day was where his heart was directed. A true expression of his feelings. But didn't he claim to have an emotional cleanliness complex and absolutely couldn't accept emotional betrayal or marital infidelity? The sound of the doorknob turning came. I quickly closed the drawer and pretended to be wiping the table. Jason's expression immediately showed panic. What are you doing? Wiping the table. Isn't it obvious? I mean, these materials on my desk are very important. You don't need to clean the study for me recently. Okay, then you can clean it yourself from now on. I didn't rush to expose him because the game had just begun. My best friend, who works as a director at the TV station, has invited me and Jason to participate in the talk show she planned several times. The theme is called The Secret to Keeping Love Fresh. The secret to the lasting relationship of model couples. At that time, I was immersed in the false image of a happy marriage and thought that this kind of program was just a superficial display of sweetness. So I refused every time. But now, when that champagne-colored shoe heel pierced the disguise of my life, I suddenly realized that this might be the perfect stage to expose the truth. On the day of the recording, the spotlight in the studio outlined a perfect silhouette of Jason. He was wearing a neatly ironed dark blue suit, with a silver tie clip that I gave him pinned to the collar of his shirt. His eyes under the gold-rimmed glasses were gentle and determined, and he talked eloquently in front of the camera. From the moment of the heart-throbbing eye contact during the interview to the daily necessities of life in the 7-year marriage, he packaged his cleanliness complex towards relationships as an unwavering commitment to deep love. Every word precisely hit the audience's fantasies about a perfect marriage, shaping our love into an unassailable model. Every word and sentence was a manifestation of his adherence to the principles of male virtue. He exaggerated his severe emotional cleanliness complex into a medal of deep love and repeatedly emphasized his vow to be faithful to me. On the night when the program was broadcast, related topics topped the hot search lists on major platforms. On the social media, the clip of him talking about loving only one person in a lifetime was retweeted, and the comment section was filled with praises like, "This is the ideal husband," and "Mr. Jason is simply a textbook for marriage." Looking at the rising popularity on my phone and then at my husband who went straight to the study and secretly stroked the shoe heel when he got home. At this moment, I had a concrete understanding of the term, a gentleman with a corrupt heart. The fame on the internet made Jason a bit proud. He even cancelled his previous TikTok account. He registered a new account and would post his views on love from time to time and also show our loving daily life. But those loving daily life scenes were just his deliberate staged shots. He would order takeout breakfast at 6 a.m. and then rearrange and take pictures of it when it arrived, pretending that he made it himself. When I cooked dinner in the evening, he would tie on an apron and ask me to help take a few staged photos, and then post them on the internet to build the image of a doting husband. Every time he posted, he couldn't wait to check the comments every minute. He enjoyed the praises from netizens with a satisfied look on his face. He, who never knew how to be romantic, started ordering a bouquet of roses for me every day and asked me to post it online. Seeing that I didn't respond, Jason explained sincerely, "Wife, do you think what I'm doing is very hypocritical? You know exactly what my feelings for you are and what kind of person I am. The reason I'm doing this is just to take advantage of this wave of traffic dividends and make some money. Actually, I don't like showing off to others either, but I want to give you a better life. Moreover, I've been good to you before. I just haven't done these superficial things. But my love for you is the same." I came back to my senses. In fact, I didn't care about what he was doing at all. I was just thinking about where to place the last 2 pinhole cameras that I hadn't installed yet. Because I'm going to LA City for an academic exchange tomorrow and won't be home for half a month. Of course, this is an exchange that I applied for on my own initiative. I think this should be the best opportunity for Jason to reveal his true nature. Because our social circles are too overlapping, and our life trajectories are too similar. If I always live an orderly life at home, nothing will change except that I'll be cheated on. So, I chose to go out. On the one hand, it's to relax myself and adjust my mood. On the other hand, it's also to give an account of these 7 years of our relationship. What will happen and what kind of result there will be in these half a month depends entirely on whether Jason can keep his heart in check. I quietly installed the last 2 pinhole cameras. These hidden eyes will faithfully record everything that happens after I leave. Bullet comments. Damn. This is satisfying. It seems that the female lead has discovered something. Why did she install so many cameras just for a business trip? There must be a good show to watch. I want an advanced screening. An advanced screening in advance. This is what our distinguished members should watch. When packing my luggage, Jason leaned against the doorframe, his gaze seemingly concerned. Half a month. That's so long. I'll miss you. As he spoke, he reached out to help me sort out my clothes, but I subtly avoided his hand. You don't need to send me to the airport tomorrow. Killian is going too. And he'll drive. Jason frowned. Is it that Killian from your college? Just the 2 of you. Jason is like this because of his emotional cleanliness complex. He also strongly objects to my contact with other men. In the past, I would consider his feelings and deliberately keep a distance from all men, but not anymore. I continued packing my luggage without even bothering to look up. Yes. Is there a problem? You're married. It's not appropriate for a man and a woman to be alone together. You should pay attention to that. How should I pay attention? Should I tell the college that my husband won't let me have contact with other men and that I can't go? Jason's voice softened. Ivy, I didn't mean that. When I dragged my suitcase and left, Jason stood at the entrance. There was an appropriate look of reluctance on his face, but the excitement in his eyes couldn't be hidden. In fact, my business trip wasn't for half a month, but for 3 days. After coming back, I directly checked into a hotel near my home. I was looking for the best time to go home. At 1:25 a.m. on the 7th day, when they were about to have sex for the 3rd time in the living room, I unlocked the fingerprint lock with my thumb. Brother Jason, how's this angle? Jean's coquettish voice mixed with the sound of clapping and Jason's dull groans. I walked closer to the sofa. In a panic, Jason tried to get up but fell onto the carpet. He was lying sprawled out, and all the tools for their affair were clearly visible. Perhaps due to excessive shock, he became flaccid. Damn, it's so small. It's so disgusting. I feel like I can even smell the stench through the screen. Jean hastily pulled the surrounding clothes and covered herself with them. Why are you back? Since I knew the positions of the cameras, I slumped down in a position where the camera was directly shooting my right face. After all, my right face looks better on camera. I choked up and shouted, "This is my home. Do I have to say hello in advance to come back to my own home?" Then I pointed at them with trembling fingers. You too. How could you actually? Jason, don't you have an emotional cleanliness complex? Aren't you supposed to be faithful to one person? How could you betray me? I've only been gone for a week. Just a week. Then, I turned to Jean. Is this why you moved in across the street from my house? Your goal has finally been achieved. Right. Shame on you two for being teachers. Don't you have a boyfriend? Are you two timing? Do you think this is exciting? Jason tried to hug me, but I pushed him away. Wife, I deserve to die. I accidentally sprained my ankle while running today. Jean sent me back, and then we had some wine. I was drunk and mistook her for you. Please forgive me. Jason slapped his face again and again. I almost went crazy as I held up those used condoms and faced the perfect camera position. Drunk. When you were drunk, you still knew to take precautions. You were drunk 3 times and couldn't even see the other person's face clearly. Jean, on the other hand, gloated. Brother Jason, since she's already found out, it saves us the trouble of confessing. You go and divorce her tomorrow, and I'll marry you. We'll be together. Jason turned around and roared at Jean. Get out. Get out of here. It's all your fault. You slut seduced me. I will never divorce. I will never marry you in my life. Jean was stunned by his sudden change and it took her a while to react. She grabbed the pillow beside her and threw it at Jason. Jason, are you fucking playing with me? What do you take me for? You said that I'm a perfect match for you in spirit. You said that you couldn't sleep at night thinking of me every day. You said that you would go crazy when you saw someone else with me. Don't you like me? Jason got up, pulled her up, and dragged her outside. Get out. Get out of here. Damn. It's so exciting to see them fight like dogs. They're like 2 crazy dogs without clothes on. Is this what they call a naked chat? Jason turned around and tried to soothe me again. I picked up the red wine bottle on the table and threw it at Jason. Jason didn't even try to dodge. Go ahead and hit me. Kill me if it can make you feel better. The red liquid flowed down his forehead. I didn't know if it was blood or wine. At 8 a.m. tomorrow. At the Civil Affairs Bureau. Bring your documents. Jason knelt on the ground, picked up the broken glass shards, and pressed them against his neck. I don't agree, Ivy. I will never divorce you. I love you, and I can't live without you. Do you want me to die? Do you have the heart to let me die? We've been in love for 10 years. Ivy, 10 years. How could you be willing to divorce? I'm wrong. I know I'm wrong. Please give me one chance. Just one. Okay. Don't be late. I turned around, leaving him with only the sound of the door closing. The next day, Jason didn't show up at the Civil Affairs Bureau. He didn't answer my calls or reply to my messages. Honey, don't wait. He doesn't intend to come at all. He's teaching at school. Listen to me. We're not in a hurry to get a divorce. We haven't discussed how to divide the property yet. Men who cheat deserve to die. They should be drowned in a pig cage. Honey, don't leave him a single cent. Don't worry. We signed a prenuptial agreement. Who is she talking to? It seems to be us. It seems that she can see what we're saying. Yes. Thank you all. You helped me see the scumbag for who he is in advance. Damn. No wonder you're the female lead. You actually believe the bullet comments. Jason took the initiative to sign a prenuptial agreement with me before our marriage. Maybe it was true love at that time. Or maybe he was confident that we wouldn't get a divorce. He once promised in black and white, if he committed adultery during the marriage, he would leave the marriage with nothing and compensate the other party with 2 million yuan in mental damage compensation. At that time, I was also extremely confident in our relationship. I even persuaded him that there was no need to write it down. Fortunately, he insisted on signing it. 2 million yuan is a huge amount for people working in public institutions like us. He would be working for me for the rest of his life. Just thinking about it makes me feel comfortable. Men who can't control their lower bodies deserve to work hard for a lifetime. According to the tips from the bullet comments, I saw Jason in the large lecture hall on the staircase of building No. 1. His forehead was simply wrapped with a piece of gauze, and he was talking eloquently in front of the podium as if nothing had happened. I opened the door and walked to the podium. You still have the mood to teach, Mr. Jason. Some students jeered. The teacher's wife is here. God. Are they going to show their affection in public? They're indeed a model couple who have been on TV. When Jason saw me, he realized something was wrong. Ivy, let's talk about it at home if there's anything. Seeing that I didn't move, he tried to pull me towards the door. I shook off his hand and slowly took out a loudspeaker from my bag. What topic are you discussing? Human anatomy or mating positions? Students in the back row. Stop sleeping. Wake up. Pick up your phones. There's going to be a good show. Then, I inserted the USB drive into the computer. The screen was playing the surveillance video of Jason and Jean having sex 3 times in the living room that day. Jason was in a panic and tried to pull out the USB drive. But I blocked him. He picked up the chair beside him and desperately smashed it at the large screen. I smiled. Stop smashing. It's useless. I've already sent it to the internet simultaneously. On Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. Not missing any platform. Jason, you're famous now. Facing the whispers and curses of the students in the classroom, Jason smashed the wall in a fit of despair. Stop looking. Get out. All of you. Get out. He held his head with both hands and shouted desperately. Like a madman, I calmly shouted to the students. Students, remember my lesson. In the future, you must keep your eyes open when looking for a significant other. Promises are only sincere at the moment they are made. It's only the person who was promised that will keep the promise in mind. Don't be a fool in love. It's all over. Ignore this madman. The surveillance video quickly went viral on the internet. In just a few hours, Jason's name was firmly associated with labels such as a beast in human clothing and a cheating professor. The school quickly intervened in the investigation. He and Jean were suspended from all teaching work and were waiting for further handling. Jason returned home in a state of despair. He seemed to have lost his soul, slumped on the sofa, and stared blankly at the ceiling. Ivy, I'm finished. Everything is finished. He muttered to himself, his voice full of despair. I looked at him coldly, without a trace of pity in my heart. This is all your own doing. Do you regret it now? It's too late. I took out my phone and brought up the prenuptial agreement. According to the agreement, you leave the marriage with nothing, and the 2 million yuan in mental damage compensation should be transferred to my account within a week. Jason suddenly rushed towards me like a madman and tightly grabbed my arm. Ivy, Was this a trap you set? You tricked me. I forcefully shook off his hand. How could I set a trap? Did I help you take off your pants? Did I force you to sleep with her? After saying that, I turned around and walked into the bedroom to pack my things. I didn't want to stay in this house full of betrayal for a single moment longer. Just then, there was a rapid knock on the door outside, followed by Jean's sharp scolding. Jason, you liar, come out. I opened the door, and Jean rushed in angrily. Her hair was in a mess, and there were signs of being beaten on her face and body. Her eyes were full of resentment. You still have the nerve to come. When Jason saw Jean, he immediately flew into a rage. Why don't I have the nerve to come? If it weren't for your sweet words deceiving me, would I have ended up like this? Now my reputation is completely ruined. I've lost my job, and my rich second-generation boyfriend doesn't want me anymore. You have to give me an explanation. Jean shrieked and rushed towards Jason, scratching and hitting him. The two of them fought each other, and the scene was in chaos. I stood aside and watched this farce coldly, with nothing but endless mockery in my heart. Once, they did those shameless things behind my back. Now, they have finally tasted the bitter fruit. The school's dismissal notice was like a heavy hammer, completely shattering Jason's last hope. The official document with the red seal was posted on the college bulletin board. Jason and Jean left the office carrying cardboard boxes. The onlookers changed from whispering to cursing. Jason, who used to be so arrogant, now kept his head lower than ever. Jean's situation was even worse. After being abandoned by her rich second-generation boyfriend, she became a complete outcast in this city. After all, the rich second-generation's family had some influence, and the result of betraying them was destruction. The boys who used to flatter her began to expose her on social media, claiming that she had a previous record of seducing a married man. Some even dug up the chat records of her deliberately approaching the married male professor in the laboratory. Every word and sentence nailed her to the pillar of moral shame. All the employers put her on their blacklists. One late night, she broke into Jason's house, with a crazy smile on her face. Jason, let's go to hell together. She held a fruit knife and stabbed straight at Jason, who looked terrified. But after all, she wasn't as strong as Jason. After struggling for a while, she was pushed to the ground by Jason. Jason took the opportunity to escape. Crawling and rolling, Jason called the police. Although Jean failed to cause harm, she still committed the crime of intentional injury and was sentenced to 1 year in prison. During this turmoil, I unexpectedly received a private message from a mysterious viewer. The other party claimed to be a special being who could see the bullet comments and attached an unpublicized surveillance video with the letter. The night before I found the shoe heel, Jason murmured to the air in the dark, his voice hoarse and distorted. Why didn't you choose me? Clearly, I'm more talented, more charming, and more able to satisfy you. In the picture, the veins on his hand holding the shoe heel bulged, as if he was about to kill someone. I suddenly realized that Jean might never have been the prey but a touchstone, carefully designed by Jason. He was eager to conduct an experiment to verify whether he still had the charm to make young girls fall head over heels for him. After completing the divorce procedures, I decisively put the house that carried painful memories up for sale, because it was sold at a low price. The house was quickly sold, and the landlord drove Jason out. As for me, with a determination to leave the past behind, I applied for a new school and moved to a new home. Standing in the spacious and bright new residence, looking at the bustling city night view outside the window, I took a deep breath and told myself that a new life was about to begin. After returning to work, I devoted all my energy to my job. With my solid professional knowledge and excellent work ability, I soon stood out in the School of Management. I took the initiative to undertake several important scientific research projects, leading the team to study day and night and overcoming one difficulty after another. In class, with my vivid and interesting teaching methods, I inspired the students' enthusiasm for learning and was deeply loved by the students. In the past, because I considered Jason's feelings, I avoided contact with all men. I lost one job opportunity after another to show myself. My career, which had been stagnant due to my failed marriage, now seemed to be injected with strong motivation and was advancing rapidly. As for Jason, since he was dismissed by the school, his life has completely hit rock bottom. Without a stable job and carrying the reputation of being a cheating scumbag, he looked for jobs everywhere but was repeatedly rejected. The once high-spirited university professor, who was admired by many students, now had to humbly look for odd jobs in some small companies, and most of his monthly salary still has to be transferred to my card. He rents a small and dim basement, and the damp air and unpleasant smell accompany him all the time. In order to earn a meager income every day, he has to do all kinds of dirty and tiring work. His once well-groomed hair has become messy, and his face has become extremely haggard due to long-term fatigue and mental stress. Whenever it's late at night and quiet, Jason lies on the cold bed and can't help but think of the days when he was with me. At that time, life was warm and beautiful. I would carefully prepare delicious meals for him, give him a thoughtful massage when he was tired, and stand firmly by his side to support him when he encountered difficulties. Now, all of this is gone, and he realizes how stupid and unforgivable his behavior was. He began to miss me crazily, and miss our former home. That kind of longing was like a tide, constantly crashing against his heart day and night. Finally, Jason could no longer bear the torture of this longing. He began to inquire about my whereabouts everywhere and tried every means to see me. One day, I was busy in the school office when I suddenly heard a rapid knock on the door. When I opened the door, Jason appeared in front of me. His eyes were full of longing and regret. Ivy, I was wrong. Really wrong. His voice trembled, and he almost said it with a sob. After leaving you, I realized how precious the things I lost were. Please, give me another chance. Okay. I looked at him, and there was no ripple in my heart. I just said calmly, Jason, get out. After saying that, I wanted to close the door, but Jason held the door tightly with his hand and refused to leave. In the following days, Jason was like a stubborn ghost, constantly appearing in my life. When I went to a restaurant to eat, he would suddenly pop up and, in full view of everyone, grab my hand and plead bitterly. When I took a walk on campus, he would rush out from the corner and follow me, constantly telling me about his longing and confession. Every time he appeared, it made me feel extremely bored and disgusted. Once, at a school academic exchange meeting, Jason somehow got the news and actually sneaked in. When I was giving a wonderful speech on the stage, he suddenly rushed onto the stage, hugged me, and shouted loudly, Ivy, I love you. I really can't live without you. This sudden scene threw the whole venue into chaos, and everyone looked at us in shock. I was both ashamed and angry. I broke free from his embrace with all my strength and shouted at the security guards, throw him out. When Jason was dragged away by the security guards, he was still shouting my name hoarsely. That voice echoed in the venue, full of despair and helplessness. However, no matter how much Jason pestered me, I remained unmoved. I have completely let go of the past and started to enjoy my own wonderful life. I participated in various social activities and met many excellent friends. I traveled around the world during the holidays and experienced different local customs. I also signed up for various interest classes, learning painting and dancing, and constantly improving myself. Instead of revolving around my husband as before, Jason's pestering did not stop, but instead became more intense. He began to follow me and even lurked downstairs in my house. This made me feel extremely uneasy and scared, and I had to choose to call the police. The police gave Jason a warning and admonition, but he still didn't give up. Until one day, while he was following me, he was so distracted that he didn't pay attention to the oncoming vehicles and was knocked down by a speeding car. When I heard this news, there was no trace of pity in my heart. I just thought that he deserved it. Later, Jason was diagnosed with a mental illness by the hospital and was sent to a mental hospital. His family was extremely disappointed in him because of what he had done and rarely came to take care of him. During the long rehabilitation process, he finally fully understood that his behavior had not only destroyed our marriage but also his own life. When Jason ran out of the mental hospital and came to find me again, he was emaciated. The hospital gown hung loosely on his body, and his unshaven face had lost its former brilliance. He stood downstairs of my company, clutching a withered blue rose in his hand that was my favorite flower when we were in love. Ivy, I take my medicine every day. His voice was hoarse. He reached out to touch me but then retracted his hand. The doctor said I have a paranoid personality disorder, but it's just because I love you too much. I can't accept losing you. He took out a shabby notebook, densely filled with confessions. Our wedding photo was inserted in the last page, and the edges were crumpled from being soaked in tears. I looked at him coldly. Jason, your pitiful appearance now makes me even more disgusted than when you cheated. When I turned to leave, he suddenly knelt down, and his knees hit the ground heavily. Please take a look at these. I've written down all my mistakes. Even breathing is a mistake. And living is a mistake. That night, a heart shape made of candlelight lit up downstairs in my house. And he shouted with a loudspeaker, "I was wrong. Ivy, please give me a chance. I'm willing to atone for my sins with the rest of my life." His voice was heart-wrenching, but it only attracted complaints from the neighbors. He started going to work at the entrance of my company every day, bringing a thermos bucket, which contained the sweet and sour spare ribs that I loved to eat. I learned the recipe from a restaurant for 3 months. This time, it definitely won't be burnt again. He smiled humbly, with bloodshot eyes. I poured the spare ribs into the trash can in front of him. "Jason, everything you do will only make me think of your face when you betrayed me." Even more ridiculously, he somehow found out that I was learning oil painting and actually set up an easel outside the art classroom. On the canvas was our wedding photo. I directly splashed turpentine on the painting, and the colors smudged into a murky mess. He started a live broadcast of crazy apologies and analyzed every one of his mistakes in front of the camera. Netizens scolded him for being an attention seeker in the comments section, but he stubbornly said, "As long as Ivy can see it, I don't care about being scolded." Until one day, when I was harassed by a drunk man in the parking lot, Jason rushed out from nowhere. He was stabbed several times but still firmly protected me. On the way to the hospital, he said weakly, "Ivy, the thing I regret the most in my life is..." Before he could finish his words, he stopped breathing. Jason finally stopped pestering me. He completely disappeared from this world. Although I hated him, every time I thought that he died because of me, my heart was filled with mixed feelings. Later, I finally understood that a woman's happiness should never be pinned on others. Only by loving oneself and constantly improving oneself can one shine the most dazzling light and harvest a wonderful life that truly belongs to oneself. Jason finally left this world alone. He was like a shooting star that once briefly crossed my sky, leaving behind pain and regret. Now he has disappeared without a trace, and I have long lived out my own wonderful life in a world without him. Epilogue. Jason. The first time I saw Jean was in the laboratory. She was wearing a short skirt and high heels and burst in like a butterfly. I frowned and continued to look down at the experimental data. I really looked down on girls who dressed up deliberately to come to the laboratory. After all, the laboratory is a serious and solemn place. Brother Jason. Her voice was sickly sweet, and she always almost pressed her body against mine. I knew what she was trying to do, and I disliked her very much. I always deliberately kept a distance from her. For this kind of girl, the more she is rejected, the stronger her desire to conquer becomes. In the following days, she always tried every means to appear in front of me. Looking at her embarrassed and aggrieved appearance, I actually felt a trace of pleasure in my heart. I hated this kind of shameless woman who knew I was married but still pestered me. Ivy and I had been in love for 3 years and married for 7 years, and our relationship had always been very good. I claimed to have an emotional cleanliness complex, and love should be faithful from beginning to end. I only had deep disgust for Jean's behavior. However, I don't know when some subtle changes began to germinate in my heart. That day, Ivy and I got off work together. Jean stumbled and almost fell. My heart suddenly tightened, and my hand unconsciously clenched Ivy's hand. I watched Jean turn around and ask for help. With her eyes slightly red, I actually had an impulse to go and help her. But I shouldn't have been like this. I was holding Ivy's hand. How could I be thinking of someone else? I deliberately replied to her with sarcasm. That night, I tossed and turned in bed and couldn't fall asleep. I didn't understand why I had such a reaction. I clearly hated her. In the following days, this strange feeling became stronger and stronger. When I saw her chatting and laughing with other boys, I would feel inexplicably irritable. Once, in the school cafeteria, I saw a boy giving her flowers, and she accepted them with a smile. My fists clenched unconsciously, and jealousy and anger surged in my heart. I told myself that this was just because her sudden change of attitude made me feel that my authority was being challenged. But deep down, I knew it wasn't that simple. This psychology was in sharp conflict with my emotional cleanliness complex. I had always firmly believed that my love for Ivy was unique. But now, I had a different feeling for another woman. I was plunged into extreme torment. During the day, I pretended to be calm at school, and when I returned home to face Ivy at night, my heart was filled with guilt. I began to pay attention to Jean's every move. I would check her moments repeatedly. When I saw her posting photos with other boys, I would get angry. I kept telling myself that this was just a momentary curiosity and that I still loved Ivy. But I couldn't control myself from finding various reasons to get close to her. I clearly used to disdain her invitations. But now I would unconsciously look forward to the opportunity to be alone with her. I comforted myself that I was just treating her as a special friend, and wouldn't do anything beyond the boundaries. That day, I was working overtime in the laboratory, and Jean came again. She was wearing a low-cut top, and her eyes were full of temptation. As we talked, the atmosphere became ambiguous. I could feel my heart beating faster. My reason told me that I should let her leave, but my desire drove me to continue talking to her. Suddenly, she leaned in, and her lips were almost touching mine. At that moment, my mind went blank, and all my morals and principles were thrown out of the window. I responded to her kiss, and my physical instincts overcame my reason. Afterwards, I fell into deep shame and self-blame. I didn't dare to face Ivy. Every time I saw her smile, I felt like a complete jerk. But once desire was released, it was no longer easy to control. I kept making excuses for myself, thinking that as long as I didn't get a divorce, I was still faithful to Ivy. I thought that we were just spiritual partners and that physical infidelity didn't matter. I fell into a strange cycle of self-deception, enjoying the passion with Jean on the one hand and comforting myself that my love for Ivy hadn't changed on the other hand. In order to cover up my affair, I began to lie to Ivy. I said I was working overtime in the laboratory, but in fact, I was with Jean. I said I was going for a run, but in fact, I was going to the Grove with her. Every time I lied, I was terrified, afraid that Ivy would find out. But the mentality of luck made me take risks again and again. Brother Jason, we'll be neighbors from now on. Please take good care of me. But I pushed her away again and again, and the guilt towards her in my heart became deeper and deeper. I looked at her disappointed eyes, and I felt bad too. But I couldn't stop my relationship with Jean. I began to develop a dependence on Jean. Her youth and enthusiasm fascinated me. I even thought that she was the one who really understood me. But every time I returned home, seeing everything at home and the photos of Ivy and me, I would fall into deep self-blame again. I was torn between the two women and suffered greatly in my heart. I tried to convince myself that this was just a short-lived passion, and when the novelty wore off, I would return to Ivy's side. But things developed in an out-of-control direction. That day, Ivy came back from her business trip early and saw the ugly scene of Jean and me at home. There was full of disappointment and anger in her eyes. At that moment, I truly realized how big a mistake I had made. She took out the evidence captured by the pinhole camera. It turned out that she had already discovered my betrayal. Looking at the intimate scenes of Jean and me in the video, I just felt dizzy. I began to explain in a panic, trying to save the situation, but it was too late. Ivy resolutely proposed a divorce and no longer gave me any chance. I was dismissed by the school and lost my reputation. I lost my job, my family, and everything. At the moment of the divorce, I finally woke up. I found that my heart was full of Ivy, and my feelings for Jean were just a momentary impulse and desire. I began to desperately beg Ivy for forgiveness. I cried hoarsely downstairs in her house and even hurt myself, scratching my arms with a knife, hoping to make her change her mind. I suffered from depression. I couldn't sleep all night. When I closed my eyes, all I could see were Ivy's disappointed eyes and Jean's cunning smile. I began to drink heavily and was sent to the hospital due to gastric bleeding. I also tried to take sleeping pills but vomited them out at the last moment due to fear. I couldn't figure out how I had ended up like this. Clearly, I had once had a marriage that everyone envied. And clearly, I had claimed to be faithful to my feelings. But once the gap of desire was opened, it dragged me into the abyss of eternal damnation. I regretted what I had done, but everything was irreversible. I lost the woman who loved me the most and also lost the person I used to be.